Yep, welcome to another edition of Carnivore Bites. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, along with Dr. Eric Lopkin. And a lot of depressing things in the news, but one thing that's certainly not depressing is America's return to space, correct?
Absolutely. I'm going to steal a quote from Gerald R. Ford. Today, our long national nightmare is over. For anybody who is a fan of the space program, science, it has been an abject embarrassment that we had to rely on Russian Soyuz capsules to get our astronauts to the International Space Station. And as we're recording this, they're fueling up the Dragon vessel at Cape Canaveral. And it looks like within the next half hour or so, we are going to be putting man into space in an American-made capsule launched from an American launch pad once again.
I think that's fantastic. I actually think that the whole space shuttle was a waste of time. I don't think it did anything. I think we could have had colonies or at least space exploration on the moon. It would have prepared us better for going to Mars.
The shuttle...
I think the space shuttle was more of a Cold War thing than it was actual exploration.
Well, no, there were a lot of good scientific experiments done aboard the shuttle, but the shuttle was really more of a placeholder. It was doing what we had already done rather than pushing forward to the next level. And I think even that was better than mothballing the entire program as happened under the Obama administration.
Well, he basically put the space program on hold, didn't he?
He did. And again, people say, oh, well, the shuttles were too old. But we've been using Soyuz capsules, which are even older.
Yeah, I think that was an excuse. I think the space shuttle kind of just ran its course. And I think they were just looking for a reason to exit it.
It's possible. Yeah, it's possible. I think just space exploration wasn't a priority for the Obama administration. They didn't see the value in the scientific endeavor, and they wanted to spend their money on their pet projects.
No question about it. Where does this lead, Dr. Lopkin?
This can actually lead a lot of places. The rocket and the spaceship that are being used today were built by SpaceX and Boeing. Elon Musk, CEO of SpaceX, has already said his ultimate goal is a Mars colony. He wants to go to Mars. This is also the first step in opening up space travel to everyday people. Now, of course, they say everyday people. It's going to be everyday people who can afford to spend a fortune on a seat on a rocket. But it's a step in the right direction. We've finally started on that path to people actually exploring the cosmos again, not just
which I think is well overdue
and...
because I'm a child of the space race. And it had, even though it cost a fortune, the dividends were amazing in terms of technology, nanotechnology, computer technology. It paid off.
It really did. And, from a political point of view, it wasn't a surprise that Obama mothballed NASA the way he did. Let's face it, the Apollo missions, the original moon program, all of that was mothballed by Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter and Barack Obama were basically the same president.
In some ways, although I'd have to say in retrospect, I believe I'd give the nod to Jimmy Carter as far as being a better president, but that's just my opinion. But that's another subject.
Right. But now it's something, with everything that's going on in the world today and everybody, on the verge of being depressed because of all of the COVID news and political news, this is something that Americans can be proud of.
I would agree.
And it also goes to show not just the power of the American dream, because let's face it, Elon Musk is living the American dream. It
Yes,
also
he is.
shows the power of entrepreneurship and the importance of small business, because this started, if Elon Musk had not founded PayPal and made his fortune, which basically funded Tesla, funded Solar City, funded SpaceX, none of this would be happening. This is being driven by entrepreneurs, not by politicians.
Which is better, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. And that's something else they've been talking a lot about on the coverage of the launch, that because this was done by entrepreneurs who, for obvious reasons, don't have the bottomless pockets that governments do, SpaceX was able to lower the cost of space travel, one, by creating reusable rockets, which NASA was never able to do, and also using new materials, new ideas. They weren't building on 40, 50 years of technology. They looked at what had been done before and went, okay, we want to do that, but how can we do it better, faster, cheaper? And they've succeeded.
I would agree 100% with that, Dr. Lopkin. Well done. Yes. Where does this lead this into the future?
Well, certainly you're going to see more American launches. Now, NASA will not be beholden to the Russians to rent space on the Soyuz capsules. So we'll be able to we've been getting supplies to the ISS using SpaceX rockets unmanned. Now we'll be able to send crews up there. New experiments will be able to be done. Something they're talking about on this trip is they're actually looking at the ability to 3D print human organs for transplant, which can be done easier and more effectively in low gravity than it can be done on Earth. So you're talking about not just the technology of space travel and exploring there, you're talking advances in medical technology.
I would agree. Does Trump get any credit for this? No.
No.
Or should he?
Honestly, I don't know that he should. I mean, he did what governments need to do when it comes to business, which is make it easier for them to do things. So he gets credit for that. But when it comes to these things, what governments can do best is what the Obama administration refused to do on anything, is get out of the way and let the
Obama
people
was a
with
big
the
government
vision.
guy.
All right. Now the government is let the people with the vision go forward and do what they can do. And we need more of that.
I would agree 100%. Do you think we're back in the space race, or not the race? Do you think we're back in space?
It's all going to depend on how well today's launch goes. I think we are certainly back in the space race, which realistically, we lost after going to the moon. Because
yes, we did.
Once we canceled the shuttle program, that was it. China has a space program now. Russia has a space program now. The EU has a space program now.
India does.
India has a space program now. And we were sitting on the sidelines, borrowing technology from the Russians. Now we're back in the space race. We can go back to the moon, beating anybody else. Before they get there once, we'll get there twice, and then we can move on to Elon Musk's dream of a Martian colony.
Why does it take a person like Elon Musk? Do you think it's just because he's from the private sector, and he can just overshadow the narrow-mindedness of? Listen, NASA did Mars probes over and over and over again. They were impressive at first, but they were just doing the same thing over and over because they could.
Well, part of it is because he's from the private sector, because he was not limited by small government thinking. Remember, NASA can't do anything without the approval of Congress, without the approval of the president. So even though NASA may have wanted to go to Mars and may have even been able to do it, the small-minded people in government held them back. That being said, you cannot underestimate the brilliance and the drive of Elon Musk.
No, he's a true genius.
Yes, Elon Musk is one of a small group of people. I would include Henry Ford, Steve Jobs. These
Tesla.
Yes, Nikola Tesla, absolutely. This is a small group of people who have the amazing brilliance to conceive of these projects, the genius to not just contribute to these projects, but to attract other geniuses to them to make it happen.
Agreed 100%. And you know something? I'm glad you brought this up, Eric, because it's a day of celebration. With all the bad news going on, it's a day to at least take a little pride in what's going on, a little forward thinking instead of doom and gloom. But on that same subject, I think some of the doom and gloom is starting to ebb in terms of the corona as well, isn't it?
It is. There has been a lot of talk right now from a top economist in the Obama administration saying, we've got the economics of this wrong. We need to stop looking at this as a recession and start looking at it as a natural disaster. And when you look at it from that point of view, we're going to recover much faster and much stronger than people have been anticipating.
I believe that's true, and I believe that I believe, and I want your opinion on this, if the economy recovers very strongly, I think that really obviously is going to help Trump and could propel him. And I think Biden is kind of just basically just wallowing in nonsense, really, with the whole, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. I mean, okay. It was pathetic.
I'm going to go back to our previous conversation. The news has just crossed the wire that the launch has been postponed for bad weather, and they are going to try again on Saturday.
All right. Well, we got Saturday to look forward to. That's nothing wrong with that, Dr. Lopkin.
It's not the first time that a launch has been canceled due to weather. It won't be the last. It's still something to be proud of.
I think it's something very much to be proud of. I think that I think we're back in space. And Dr. Lopkin, my hat's off to you for suggesting this topic, because it's a great topic and something we should all be proud of as Americans.
Absolutely. It should be a point of national pride that we're doing this, and it should be something that we all come together on.
Very good. Any other final thoughts? I think it's a fantastic subject.
I'm going to look forward to Saturday. We'll see what happens. And of course, we'll talk more about the economy, the COVID-19, and hopefully more about the space race Friday at 4. You can catch us live at blogtalkradio.com/Carnivore Radio and join in the conversation.
Thank you, Dr. Lopkin, and thank you for our listeners. Awesome.
See you Friday.
You've been listening to Carnivore Bites, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can catch us every week on carnivoreradio.com, exvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcast Store, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find podcasts.